World Baseball Classic Finals preview and our National League breakout picks for 2026. That's Aram Leighton, and I am Peter Appel. Thank you to all of you joining us here live on YouTube or watching on SportsGrid. Subscribe to wherever you listen, and this loaded episode is brought to you by BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JUSTBASEBALL when signing up, and you will get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Just here's how it works. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code JUSTBASEBALL. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. And if that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. And the world's top baseball stars continue to go head-to-head in the World Baseball Classic. Join the excitement and make your WBC moment when you bet with boosted odds. Activate your odds boost token for any World Baseball Classic bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Aram, let's start with Venezuela versus Italy, and then we'll get into our finals prediction. Little short blurb about what happened, then I want to throw it over to you. So Venezuela got the 4-2 win over Italy in the semifinals. They got out to a 2-0 lead after they loaded the bases, walked one in, and then Dante Nori grounded into a force out that brought home the second run for Italy. And that was all she wrote for Italy, as Gino Suarez homered in the fourth inning to bring home Venezuela's first run. And then in the seventh, Venezuela tied it up on a Ronald Acuna Jr. infield single. Then Michael Garcia and Luis Arias brought home the next two on RBI singles. Then the Venezuelan bullpen shut the door. Venezuela is moving on to the finals. Your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction is, why does this cat Andres Machado out of the Venezuela bullpen not have a job? We'll get into that a little bit more, but it was another one of those reminders in a tournament like this. All good things have to come to an end, and either way, something good was coming to an end. We were at the game, where Venezuela overtakes Japan there, and it was pandemonium. And then these are two awesome stories. Italy, one of the best stories of the WBC, but I mean, you can only take it so far. I think they did a good job. They went all in on this game with Nola and Lorenzen behind him, but these Venezuelan hitters, they struggled against Nola, but eventually were able to get to Lorenzen. To me, it just kind of seemed like an incredible story. Just kind of ran out of gas a little bit when you ran into a really good and disciplined team that is really well rounded. And I think the most underrated part by all of us here, and I'll speak for myself more because I know I missed some of the conversations previewing the WBC, may have been this Venezuelan bullpen. Though I think we all knew it would be pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we accounted for Andres Machado. I don't know if we accounted for Edward Bizardo to throw this way. This Venezuelan bullpen has been, I think, the X factor in what has made them what they are in this tournament.
So we both picked Venezuela yesterday when we previewed the game, but you were much more specific, and basically everything that you said came true. I remember you referenced it was likely going to be lower scoring. You also referenced that Italy was likely going to throw both Nola and Lorenzen and kind of throw the next game out the window a little bit because you got to get to the final. So they put in their best effort and they tried, but ultimately they fell a little bit short, exactly like you said. For me, I just said, I think Venezuela is going to win. You dove into it much
They were
deeper
both right
and basically nailed it.
The atmosphere. I mean, the DR, it's crazy. I mean, crazy amount of fans there, so passionate. These Venezuelan fans might be on another level here. Less instruments, just the old school vocals, and it is like stadium's like shaking. So this is gonna be, we'll preview, but this is gonna be a road game for the US as well. But I really, it was a great baseball game. I think it was a reminder though, when you started to get through this Italy lineup and some of these Venezuelan arms were throwing the ball the way that they were. Like, oh, well, this is some young guys still, right? Sam Antonacci, still a prospect. Andrew Fisher was just drafted last year. Jack Caglione, we just talked about as a breakout guy for this year, but it was just coming off his rookie season. It's all young guys for the most part. And I mean, Antonacci's never going to play, I don't think, very much shortstop at the big league level. He's playing shortstop in the semifinals of the WBC and batting leadoff. I think it's just a testament to how far this team took it, but I think it's also a reminder of like, all right, this team probably took it about as far as it was going to go.
And speaking about that Venezuelan home crowd, just like you said, even though it's being played at Lone Depot Park, it's not going to feel like a road game for Venezuela, even though technically, again, they are the road team. And because South Florida, massive Venezuelan
Oh my gosh,
community. I looked it up, anywhere from 250,000 to 400,000 people in the Miami Fort Lauderdale area, the larger Miami metro area. And if you compare that to the Dominican Republic, it's only about half, about 125,000. And we were at USA versus DR, and it felt like it was 80-20 DR fans to USA fans. And Jack again tweeted this out, that the noise level was 99.5 to 0.5. Tonight, it might be 90-10 Venezuelan fans, and the noise is probably going to be 100 to 0.
yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I think Venezuela can upset the United States. Right now, Venezuela is a big underdog on BetMGM, about plus 220, plus 235, anywhere in that range. Makes sense. The United States is better on paper. They have last ABs, and they also have a more rested bullpen. It just came out that Garrett Whitlock will be available tonight. David Bednar, likely not. Mason Miller, still TBD. So on paper, United States is the better team. We know this. But Arm, I looked up what the projected lineup has done against Eduardo Rodriguez in the past.
Oh gosh.
And would you be surprised to know that over 137 plate appearances, the U.S. is slashing 239, 343, 395 against him? That's a 738 OPS and a 24.1% strikeout rate. And then you look at what both teams have done in this tournament so far. Both have posted a 3.00 ERA in 54 innings, both pitching staffs. And both offenses are hitting 272 and 271, both having OPSs over 800. All I'm saying is, I think the line is a little bit inflated. I'm picking Venezuela to upset the United States.
I'm sure people are going to be thrilled with that.
It is what it is. It is what it is. I follow my model projection, and my model projection is about plus 184. At plus 235, I'm in.
Well, I think anytime you have, and we've talked about this, like Venezuela doesn't have maybe the superstar power, and they've got some stars, but superstar power top to bottom that US or DR has. But when you have a team full of above average big leaguers, any given night, anything can happen. I even think that was a little bit of the difference between Italy, is like they have a team full of guys that I think will eventually get to the big leagues or are getting their footing in the big leagues, compared to a team full of above average big leaguers. And a team full of above average big leaguers can beat anyone on any given night, just like how the even lesser, this isn't a team full of above average big leaguers, but the Rockies can beat the Yankees or Dodgers in any given night as well. It's not going to happen as often, but if it's a one game playoff, anything can happen. I don't think the gap is that big either. I think it's smaller than that, even with comparing this Team USA to Venezuela, especially, with Ronald Acuna at the top and some of the guys swinging it the way that they're swinging it. I think the really interesting part is that you don't really have this huge starting pitcher advantage. I think long term, I think Nolan McLean's going to be a far better pitcher, but we'll see, how he bounces back after the last start. I think he'll throw pretty well, but at the same time, it's probably going to be a shorter leash. And I think we're going to see both bullpens get involved relatively early, at which point it should be advantage USA. But look at the way this Venezuelan bullpen is throwing. So to your point, like I of course, I'm going to pick USA to win if it was outright who is winning. But from the value proposition, I agree. I don't think it should be that lopsided in the favor of Team USA from, just the betting angle of what the implied probability is, 70% for them to win.
Exactly. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much to me. And I think
in one game, if it was a 3-game set, another story.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you told me that it was Paul Skeens on the mound versus Eduardo Rodriguez, I might feel a different way, or Tarek Skubal, or even potentially Logan Webb. And it's not like Eduardo Rodriguez pitched beautifully against the Dominican Republic, went 2 2/3, gave up 3 earned on 2 home runs, but he did strike out 5, and he's pitched in a lot of big games before. Like this is a big game for Nolan McLean. Let's not underrate that, right? So we have about 30 seconds left. Give me the projected score.
Ooh, I think this is going to end up being a little bit higher scoring here. I'm going to go 6-4 USA.
6-4 USA. I agree with you on the high scoring note. My thinking is that both pitchers are going to give up 2 to 3 runs each, and Venezuela is going to have one big inning at the end, and end up winning the game, I'll go 6-4. Stay here on the Just Baseball Show as we get into our breakout picks next. We are back with our NL breakout picks. Aram and I both have 5 each, and we're going to get straight into them. Aram, I'll start with my first breakout player. I've already talked about him on the show, and this might be your least favorite of my breakout picks, which is why I want to start with it. O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had a 3.6 F-WAR in 2024, -3 defensive runs saved. But last year, it's a 1.2 WAR. He hit 200, 298, 378, -14 defensive runs saved in center field. Can he get back to what he was in 2024 and potentially even build on that further? He was 57th percentile now. It's above average. He does have a ton of speed. He does have a ton of range. And he is working with Kevin Kiermaier this offseason. And could there be more buy-in from O'Neal Cruz, which at least visually has looked like a problem as the Pirates have continued to falter. But this season, it looks like a much better team. He's got top-end bat speed, elite batted ball metrics. I don't think it's crazy to think that this guy could hit 25 home runs next year, steal 40 bases. Remember, he was 20 home runs, 38 stolen bases last year, increased that WRC plus to 120. Again, he was around 111 in 2024, 86 in 2025. And all of that, again, if he plays average defense, could result in a 4.5 win season. I think when O'Neal Cruz first came up, we saw big potential, and he's flashed it. He hasn't been consistent enough, but could it come this year in his age 27 season when the Pirates have the potential to break the playoff drought that has riddled this team since 2015?
Yeah, this is an overwhelmingly positive episode, and I'm not here to throw cold water on Breakout. So let me chip in here on fun with numbers.
Let's go.
If you combine spring training and the WBC, O'Neal Cruz in 11 games has only struck out 4 times. That is a 15% strikeout rate. I will say, and even fun with small numbers here, like he hasn't struck out in the entire WBC. Now, is he playing every day? No, but he hasn't struck out, and he's coming off the bench, getting in these different spots here. That has been encouraging. He also, I don't know if he needed it, but I think it's interesting. He added more muscle going into this year, and I think that'll just help him to get through 162 and maybe keep his energy up in the outfield. But also, how hard is this guy going to hit the ball if he's stronger now? I don't know. but maybe it widens his margin for error a little bit. He is kind of a brain breaker in the respect that O'Neal Cruz can continue to struggle with all of the things that I'm concerned about at a pretty like concerning clip, right? But then do all of the things that you're saying you think he can do and be like a 3.5, 4 win player. It'll be the weirdest version of that. It'll be like that's why everyone always brings up Joey Gallo when we talk about big whiff guys. But he could be a guy that has one of the highest strikeout rates in the league or is just one of the more volatile players in the league. But the highs are so high that he's going to end up being an aggregate, just a really solid player. So I look at it more as you saying he's going to get his more often. And if he gets his more often, I like it. A full-fledged breakout from him, though, is legitimately, one of the more dynamic players in Major League Baseball.
I think the full-fledged breakout, what I'm talking about is vast improvements on defense, because I think we see the offensive profile. We know he's going to strike out, but can he hedge that with a walk rate above 10%? Can he hedge that with a hard hit rate that is approaching 58, 59, 60%?
Yeah.
But it's the defense where he's been a net negative over the last 2 seasons. With more buy-in, he also has a cannon of an arm. He has tons of speed. There's almost no excuse now that he's gotten plenty
more competitive
more
team.
Exactly. More competitive team, more buy-in. If he can be an above average defender, which he is talented enough to do so, that's how we get into the 5, potentially 6 F-WAR range, because we all can see the talent on the field. It's just about him being consistent. Who's your breakout star?
I got River Ryan. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Dodgers right-hander. Oldest rookie, like it feels like ever, oldest prospect ever on our top 100. I don't think there will ever be an older prospect ranked on our top 100. But that shows you, like, this guy's going to be 28 years old in August, and he's still on our top 100 list because I think the 6 years that you're going to get a team control here are going to be so darn good. I think this guy's floor is a back-end starter, but I think we're going to see more flashes of a middle rotation arm from River Ryan this year. I mean, in spring training, he has looked fully healthy coming off of TJ. Part of the reason why he's such an old prospect is because he's been kind of dealing with some of those arm issues before finally, succumbing to the Tommy John surgery. I think he's going to come out the other side stronger and just overall looking better. And I think he has from that. It's a plus to maybe plus heater in the upper 90s with good shape, a hard slider at 88 to 91, and then a cutter in between that at 93, 94, a curveball, a changeup, a sinker. He can attack you with all of these different pitches. He's a converted infielder from college. Another reason why he's so old is it was a late change. He's so athletic on the mound. He's obviously in a great organization to maximize that. And with the way that the Dodgers like to pace their rotation with some of their big guys that they like to throw, and have be ready full bore in the postseason, I think River Ryan's going to get a lot of innings this year during the regular season. And I think he's going to play a big part in carrying them through that regular season.
Do you think that it will be both him and a pitcher like Emmett Sheehan getting a lot of run?
Yep.
Do you think that Emmett Sheehan could, take away right when Blake Snell comes back from his injury and Roki Sasaki's in the rotation? There doesn't seem to be a lot of spots for him. So to warrant a breakout, all I'm concerned with is the amount of innings, because I totally agree with you on talent.
Yeah, I think Sasaki is going to give up that rotation spot relatively early. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I don't see it. I think they're going to put him back in the bullpen and say, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's roll with this for now, and we can always revisit it another time. But we got a guy in River Ryan throwing the ball way too well, which he has continued to do so through spring training as well. 12 punch-outs and 9 2/3 innings. He's only allowed 2 earned runs. Roki's looked the complete opposite. I think he ends up taking that Roki spot, and him and Sheehan throw. I think Sheehan could also be a breakout guy.
Yeah, we have about a minute left here, and I guess I would be totally fine if I was a Dodger fan, or if I was even in the Dodgers front office and Roki Sasaki just became Yohan Duran, right? A lockdown closer with that incredible splitter, and his velocity can play up in 1 inning spurts. It already worked. It's not like they signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto when they moved him to the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
$325 million. This was not an expensive deal. So it is not a bad thing if Roki just develops into a lockdown closer. Also, if Tanner Scott doesn't bounce back, they would actually need Roki Sasaki. And Sasaki has to have so much confidence after dominating in the playoffs in this role, so he can fit in so nicely. It fits like a glove. So for me, I totally agree with you. I think it's going to be one of these Dodger starters that takes the leap and ultimately fills into that rotation. We got about 5 seconds left. Anything else?
Just, I think that makes them better. Just that simple.
We continue with our NL breakout stars here on the Just Baseball Show live on SportsGrid. So River Ryan was yours. O'Neal Cruz was mine. My second one is going to be Brett Beatty of the New York Mets. So this has been one of your favorites for a long time. And I was talking with managing editor of justbaseball.com, Ryan Finkelstein, about Brett Beatty earlier, and he was praising Beatty for his ability to move around the diamond. We already know he can play a good third base, which if Bo Bichette can't handle third, Bo Bichette would move to DH and Brett Beatty could be the starting third baseman. But he's also played some first base in spring, and Fink said he looked really good. And he can also hold his own in right field. Let's say if Carson Bench just struggles as a rookie. So he can be a super utility player routinely in the lineup. And also something about Brett Beatty is his OPS has steadily climbed against lefties year over year since he debuted. Now, it's not a huge sample, but it's good to see a guy getting better. And speaking about getting better, in the second half of last season, hit 291, on base percentage of 353, 477 slug for an 830 OPS with the same amount of home runs and stolen bases than in the first half in 50 less ABs. There's some swing and miss in his game, but he doesn't chase. Strikeout rate should eventually come down. Walk rate should go up. I think Brett Beatty could be a 3.5 to 4 win player, and I think that would certainly constitute a breakout.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed I didn't pick him there because I have been steadfast on him. I mean, I think Beatty showed a lot of positives to where there was points where people were saying, he's a change of scenery candidate. No, like this is a guy now that I think you have a lot more confidence in being consistent over 160 plus than, a Mark Vientos. So I think what he showed in the second half, as you mentioned, just the improvements and the versatility, because now, yes, he's absolutely a guy that has progressed to be a solid third baseman. But now, in spring training, he's played some first base. He's always been comfortable there. He's played second base at the end of last year. And the reps that he's getting in right field as well. This really is a true utility guy that's going to keep his bat in the lineup. And as you mentioned, the improvements against lefties, so you don't have to platoon him if you don't have a better short platoon option. And then just how productive he has been against righties. It really just comes down to him hitting the ball in the air, I think, a little bit more consistently. He started to do that through stretches, but I think this is going to be a really good year for Beatty, and a situation where he's seeing consistent at-bats like he did in the second half last year and in a lineup that's going to mash.
Brett Beatty of the New York Mets is my second NL breakout pick. Who's yours?
I'm going with a guy that had a really rough year, but I'm still also keeping the candle lit for him, Matt McClain for the
Hmm.
Cincinnati Reds. And look, I don't like to put too much into spring training numbers, but when you have a little bit of a mechanical adjustment, McClain used to be, very open with his stance. Now closed and a little bit more simple. Hands are a bit quieter, and he has just been on time. I think there's some struggles with his timing last year, and that resulted in a 29% strikeout rate and a 77 WRC plus. But remember, in 2023, when this kid came up for his rookie season in 89 games, he produced 3.2 F4, hit 16 homers, and stole 14 bags. The reason why McClain was in the lineup every single day because he's a superb defender and he's a great runner. That part of his game didn't change after tearing his shoulder and missing the 2024 season. I think that injury had some residual effects on him. I also think there's some mental aspects of just being able to feel like yourself again. If Matt McClain, he doesn't need to be a 129 WRC plus like he was before in 2023. If he's a 115 with his defense and playing every day, and again, I think a little bit more power will be in there as well. I mean, this is a guy that could easily eclipse over 162 games, a 4.5 WAR. So I think this is a player that you look at the spring training numbers and the tangible adjustment. I'm going to buy into it a little bit more. He's 22 for 42 this spring. He's hitting 524 with 6 homers. He's on time. He's not chasing, hitting the ball in the air, which he's always done. And then the defense and speed's always going to be there. I think McClain's going to be a lot better this year. And this is another lineup that's vastly improved. His role, I think, is going to be more mentally in the complementary aspect. And I think that's going to help him actually be a little bit more of an aggressor offensively.
I totally agree with you. This Reds infield could be sneaky. If Sal Stewart breaks out at first, McClain has the year that you're talking about. We know what Ellie De La Cruz should do. And Cabrian Hayes, he's not much of a hitter, but an incredible glove. Reds infield sneaky.
Yeah. And I would pick Sal, but we've talked about him so much that I don't even think he's a breakout for us because it's kind of the expectation. And he was so good when he got up there last year.
We have about 45 seconds left. If you had to pin down one reason why McClain hasn't done all that well lately, what would it be?
I think it was the shoulder then seeping into the mechanics where you don't feel like yourself. You start trying to make adjustments and move to try to find the way you felt before. And you start drifting further away from where you were before anyways. And I think that's where he just started chasing his own tail. And it was really hard to get back to what made him Matt McClain, the first round pick and the top 100 prospect. And, that's such an impressive rookie.
That makes sense. So you're going with Matt McClain of the Cincinnati Reds as your second breakout pick. I'm going with Brett Beatty of the New York Mets. We are going to continue with our National League breakout picks next here on the Just Baseball Show. National League breakout picks continue on here on the Just Baseball Show and live on SportsGrid. Aram, I'm going to stick in the National League East, but I'm going to go with a pitcher. And this is a pitcher that you and I both watched at the Futures game, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And it's not Shane Baz. It is the other guy who I pointed at and asked you, who is this guy sitting 100 miles an hour with ride? And why isn't he at the top of a rotation yet? And you said, well, he's been kind of banged up. And he has been kind of banged up. But now he's healthy. Cade Cavalli of the Washington Nationals. Now, I looked into his data, and it still looks pretty good. I know the knuckle curve had a 351 batting average against it, but a 239 expected batting average and a -7-degree launch angle against. Again, these are short samples, but it also comes with a 39% whiff rate. And when you just turn on the TV and watch Cade Cavalli, it objectively looks like a nasty pitch. It just got unlucky results last year. And that's his most used pitch. Second most used pitch is the heater, which he sits 97.1 miles an hour, and opponents only hit 220 against it. The changeup posted a 40% whiff rate last year, and his sinker, which he also sits 97 with, -1-degree launch angle against. A lot of negative launch angles.
Yeah.
Does what? Increase that ground ball rate. 55% ground ball rate last year. He's a big guy, 6'4", 225 pounds, full runway this year, and he's finally healthy. Like, he was once a top pitching prospect in baseball. The reason he has continued to fall is because he's been perpetually injured. But now he was just named the opening day starter for the Washington Nationals. They have no other reason than just to let him run. He has good stuff, keeps the ball on the ground. The strikeout rate should continue to climb. Like, I think this is going to be a guy who, I think the innings might not quite be there just because first full season, but is 140 innings in his future? Is an ERA below 4 in his future? I think that could be the case in 2026. That's why Cade Cavalli is my second breakout pick.
His spring has been fantastic too. I mean, he has been unbelievable. I know it's only 3 short outings, but I mean, he has gone 2 innings, 4 innings, and 3 innings, and combined has only allowed 1 hit. So that's 9 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 unearned, 2 walks, 9 Ks. He looks like a guy that should be starting on opening day, for a rebuilding team. I love it. And the thing with Cavalli that you mentioned, it's a health. He even got a little bit of a late start last year, but the biggest positive was that he pitched through the year healthy, which is the first time he's done that, really in a very, very long time. All the talent there. The other little piece I think that you alluded to is I think there's more whiffs in the tank as he executes better in general. But the fact that he can get you out in 2 different ways, and he can, I like guys like this because he'll have his starts if he's on this year and he has a year that you think he can have, where he's 6 innings, 10 Ks. But if the swing and miss stuff isn't there, the knuckle curve isn't there that day, he can still maneuver his way through 6 innings, 3 Ks, but getting a bunch of ground balls, and it's 2 earned runs, right? So when you can get the ground ball outs and the strikeouts, opens up a lot more doors for you. And I think that's where Cavalli is heading into his age 27 season.
Now, what I will admit is the ERA going to look as good as I want it to? Probably not, because the Nationals defense in the infield is not very good. So he might put the ball on the ground, which is generally a good thing. But will they be fielded is the question. Like, I think his FIP is going to be awesome. That's the nerd that I am. The ERA, I hope. But Mackenzie Gore has tried, and it hasn't exactly gone well when he keeps the ball on the ground. Like, this Nationals defense is just not great. So the overall results might not be as good as I might want them, but from a pure talent perspective, I think a 3.80 FIP could certainly be in his future next year.
Yeah, and I think they might defend a little bit better here, and CJ Abrams is bought in on it. If Naz Nunez is playing second base every day, that's going to help. Brady House can pick it a little bit, so we'll see if it can get a little bit better out there. But the outfield doesn't help either with Lyle and Wood. Those 2 guys should be way better defensively than they are.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense. Who is your breakout pick?
Braxton Ashcraft. This is a
Mm.
little bit of a easier one because of how good he was last year for the Pirates, but Ashcraft really was kind of a swing man for them. And I think he has the talent to be, I think he has middle rotation stuff. And he can fall to the wayside because of this rotation. When you have a Paul Skeens, you have a Bubba Chandler, you have a Jared Jones coming back. But I don't think it's crazy to say that in this upcoming season, Braxton Ashcraft could be, a more consistent and productive arm than Bubba Chandler in his rookie year. And that's not an indictment on Chandler. It's just knowing the turbulence that comes with it and, how solid and steady Braxton Ashcraft is. I feel a little slimy picking him when he had a 2.71 ERA and 69 and 2/3 big league innings. But again, a lot of it was in favorable situations, bullpen role, and then made some more starts later in the year. Health has been the name of the game for Ashcraft as well. Another guy that would have, I think, consistently been a top 100 prospect had he not been hurt so much over the last several years. But huge step forward in staying healthy this past year. And I just love the arsenal. I mean, he can get at you in so many different ways. I mean, it's a four-seamer with some run and ride, a sinker, that whole mix in that gets ground balls, a changeup, a cutter that I think is a really productive pitch for him in terms of getting whiff and weak contact, and then a curveball as well. And he's comfortable going to all of them. So I think the execution, the mixture, the deep bag of pitches, the quality of just about everything that he has. And then again, another guy that can kind of blend above average ground ball. We'll see how the defense helps with the swing and miss too. Is huge. That cutter is disgusting. And I think is going to be a consistent low 90s dominant pitch for him. That's really going to help him get through the season consistently. I think Ashcraft throws, I can't project the innings, but I think he throws to that mid to high threes over the course of a whole season as a starter, which I think is a breakout because he hasn't really been able to do that and was in this swingman insulated role last year.
I think it's a great pick. You know how you said you were jealous you didn't pick Brett Beatty? I'm jealous that I didn't pick Ashcraft because I'm also impressed. Everything that you said, the higher ground ball rate, the respectable strikeout rate, doesn't walk a lot of guys, but he also does a really good job at avoiding barrels. In terms of barrel percentage, last year, I'm just going over to handy dandy baseball savant. His barrel rate was just 4.6%. That was in the 94th percentile of Major League Baseball. Why do you think he's so good at avoiding the sweet spot of the bat?
I think it's all the different pitches in all the different directions. And it's also like you got to gear up for a fastball that averaged 97 miles per hour last year. And then you get a cutter at 92 that looks like the heater until the last 15 feet, and it just hits off the end of your barrel. But then you also have a sinker running in on you. You have a power curve at 85. Everything is hard, but there's still velo gaps. And I think it creates this visual that is really difficult for hitters, gets them sped up, and you just don't feel very comfortable being able to get the barrel to it.
So I want to now talk about the Pirates rotation a little bit because I think it's fascinating. You always obviously have Paul Skeens at the top. You have Mitch Keller, who's kind of just written in as the number 2. But when you look at the rest of the rotation, especially when Jared Jones comes back, there's a chance that he's moving down to your 5 starter because you do have Bubba Chandler and you have Braxton Ashcraft. When Jared Jones comes back, creating that 5, off the top of your head, where would you rank that rotation in Major League Baseball? Because I think, all right, the Dodgers are going to have an incredible rotation. The Mariners are going to have an incredible rotation. The Yankees, when healthy, Rodon returning in April, Garrett Cole in May. The Red Sox should have a great rotation. Yeah. I'm starting to not be able to name more teams, and we have about a minute left. Can you name any more teams?
I think that was going to be where I was about to cap it off, because even when you look at like the Tigers rotation, it's so good at the top. So do you give them the nod with a Skubal and a Fromber? But Flaherty, Verlander, Mize, I been there, done that a little bit more. Maybe they get the edge, but that's where it starts to get close and become a conversation. I think this is comfortably a top 8 rotation in Major League Baseball, but the boom potential is inside the top 5. If Bubba's doing what he's doing, I think Ashcraft can be the second best arm this year in that rotation. If he's that, and it's not by default, meaning the other guys are throwing the way that they can as well, this is a top 5 rotation in baseball.
I hope so. Because I already bet Pirates over 76.5 wins on BetMGM. And I bet Don Kelly 15-1 to win Manager of the Year. If they break that postseason drought, Don Kelly could be the Manager of the Year. I also want to throw in the Phillies. When Wheeler comes back, I think that could be one of the best rotations, but that's the point. The Pirates rotation is in that conversation. We're going to continue our NL breakout picks next on the Just Baseball Show. Two breakout picks left for the both of us. Just to recap so far, my breakout picks: O'Neal Cruz, Brett Beatty, and Cade Cavalli. Yours were Matt McLain, River Ryan, and Braxton Ashcraft. I'm going to go over to Colorado and predict a breakout because, of course, I hammered the Colorado Rockies over 52.5 wins. I also bet them 60-plus wins at plus 370, and I bet them 65 wins at plus 950. How are they going to get there? Ezequiel Tovar putting up a 5 F4 or higher for the Rockies. And I don't think that this is out of bounds crazy. In 2024, posted a 3.7 F4, 96 WRC plus, 45 doubles and 26 home runs with the ability to be an elite defender. He was in the 99th percentile in outs above average in 2024. He's always been able to hit all types of pitches, good numbers against both fastballs, breaking balls, off-speed pitches. He's only 24 years old. Most hitters like that struggle against spin. Tovar's been good across the board. And I also think another level that he can unlock in his profile is increasing the amount of stolen bases. He's got upper end speed. In 5 games in the World Baseball Classic, he's already stolen 2 bases. And not to mention, I mean, the World Baseball Classic, he's been phenomenal for Team Venezuela. Been playing really good defense. He's hitting .435. He's got an OPS at 1190. But what we do know is that he's an elite defender. He's got 75th percentile speed. He's got the pop to hit 30 home runs. It's a great park to hit in to spray all of those doubles. He puts that all together, makes moderate improvements on offense. He's a 4 to 5 win shortstop. And if he takes a big leap, I don't think being a 6-win player is out of the realm of possibility for Ezequiel Tovar in 2026.
Not at all. And I just think also just having a competent team around him helps. I think having a competent front office, which we presume it will be now, it can't be less competent. Maybe arming him with a little bit more information and preparation, because the biggest Achilles heel in Tovar's game is just his lack of approach and how aggressive he is. I mean, and it's not, he whiffs more than anybody in terms of cumulatively because he swings so much. It's not because he's going to swing and miss a ton. I think the bat to ball is good enough there. He's always been aggressive dating back to when I've covered him as a prospect, but I still think that's something that he can rein in. And to your point, there is the blend of sneaky, legit power and enough feel to hit to get to it if the approach stops undermining it. So I think with the defense, the speed in that ballpark, with a team that's going to be a little bit more competitive, with I think a little bit more information at their disposal instead of being the cavemen of MLB
Yeah.
in terms of how they're approaching things out there. I think it's going to go a long way, and I hope it translates because Tovar is a really fun player to watch and is a player that reason why they extended him, like this is a guy that can be uh, the usher to this next era for the Rockies to start to play a little bit more competitive baseball.
To your point about the Rockies leaving the Stone Age, Paul DePodesta was brought in, and if you have seen the movie Moneyball, he was based off Jonah Hill's character. So for the first time in a long time, they're looking at real numbers here. And I know that sounds crazy, but the
And they're
Rockies,
making transactions. They weren't even making transactions before.
they didn't have much of an R&D department until a few years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this team has been perpetually behind the eight ball,
Yep.
perpetually behind. And now they're finally starting to get it. Now, we're not all the way there yet.
No.
Again, I think 65 wins would be awesome. But it's all about just getting better and better and better. And that's what I've seen from Ezekiel Tovar as well in spring, in the World Baseball Classic so far. I think he's a really good player. Who is your next breakout pick?
Yeah, so my final two are going to be two of the highest floor arms in the minor leagues right now, and both guys that I think are going to get some runway here to make an impact, and they're both in the National League. I'll start with J.R. Ritchie. J.R. Ritchie, for me, look, it's been really frustrating for the Braves right now with the health issues that they've had with their starting pitchers. And look, you look at the rotation now even, and you're like, man, I even hope who's in there right now is going to hold up. But I see a very clear spot for Ritchie to potentially take. And I know Didier Fuentes is already on the 40, and he's been fantastic this spring. I still want to see a third pitch a little bit more. With J.R. Ritchie, you don't have to worry about a third pitch. If you were to nitpick and say he needs to add a pitch, you would be saying that he needs to add a seventh pitch because he goes four-seamer, sinker, changeup, cutter, curveball, sweeper, and they're all competitive pitches. Maybe nothing jumps off the page as that 70 grade pitch, but that fastball, all of a sudden, the further he's been removed from Tommy John surgery, has been closer to a plus heater with sneaky run and ride. He executes so well, east, west, north, south. He uses his stuff working in different directions to all four quadrants so well. I think the command is a lot better than the walk rate would imply, and we're going to continue to see that. He has been dominant this spring. He's coming off of 4 no-hit innings where the only base runner was a hit by pitch against the Phillies, and he struck out 6. And I look at that rotation and I say, Bryce Elder or J.R. Ritchie? J.R. Ritchie finished the year last year dominating AAA. We've seen guys struggle with that AAA ball. He did not. He pitched to a 3.02 ERA, but it was really one bad start that inflated that. Most of his starts were shutout, dominant, really impressive. I think we're going to see Ritchie up there early for the Braves, and I think he's going to be playing a big part in their success if they're going to keep that rotation afloat outside of the obvious studs at the top.
I'm curious of your projection for J.R. Ritchie in 2026. I'm curious if you might compare it to what Grant Holmes did last year, 115 innings, 123 strikeouts, a 3.99 ERA. So if you were to take that 3.99 ERA, 115 innings, 123 strikeouts, would you go over or under on those 3 lines?
He threw 143 innings last year in his first full season back from TJ. I think he can easily, if they get him up soon, quick enough, throw 150 plus. I think he's going to be right around that high 3s to low 4s ERA spot. I think he's going to strike out more than a batter per 9. So I'm going to put him above most of those figures, and then probably right there in the ERA department.
So we're taking a push on the ERA, over on innings, and over on strikeouts. Like, this is a guy in fantasy baseball circles that is likely not going to get drafted by anybody. But if he can provide you 150 innings, this is an absolute no-brainer, right? No-brainer. And I guess my only concern would be, how much do the Braves love Bryce Elder? How much do the Braves love Grant Holmes? Like, I'm a fan of Grant Holmes. Bryce Elder can pitch, and he has displayed solid outings before, but is that truly the guy? We got about 30 seconds left. If you were to rank them based on talent, how would you rank the 3?
I think Ritchie's just much more talented. Holmes is an effective guy to plug and play, But I think we kind of know what Bryce Elder is at this point. And I think the Braves are going to want to find out and play to more upside to see what they may have in a J.R. Ritchie, which could be a guy that's closer to a strong 4 compared to an Elder who's, a borderline 5.
J.R. Ritchie for you, Ezekiel Tovar for me. We continue on NL breakout picks next.
I wonder if you could argue UConn's more overseeded than, like, the idea that UConn was battling for a 1 seed, quite frankly, never made any of sense to me when you look at where their metrics were stacked.
UConn will be great as long as they don't play St. John's, apparently, in the tournament. They're good to go there. But you put them at a 5, Kevin. Now here we go again, like last year, Bill Self versus Rick Pitino.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
They're going to want to lean on Kenneth Walker, especially early in the season, because Patrick Mahomes is coming off that torn ACL. Adding a high-end, proven running back next to him just gives him a little bit of time to say, hey, we're going to be run heavy early in the season as Mahomes kind of gets back up to speed, tests out that knee, and feels fully comfortable there. So I think Walker ends up being a big-time fantasy asset.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Our third and final NL breakout star. So I was looking back at my rookie draft. For anybody listening, if you want to go listen, Aram and I drafted 2026 rookies in order to make a team. And at the end, we're going to compile up all the F4. And I'm looking at these guys and I'm thinking to myself, who's the sneaky one to lead this entire team in F4 besides the pitchers? And I landed on Justin Crawford. So Johan Rojas is suspended for 80 games.
Yeah.
Which certainly helps, right? If that wasn't the case, was Crawford going to get enough playing time in order to lead my rookie team in F4? Probably not, but this opens up a lane. And can he just be better than Johan Rojas, who was putting up a 590 OPS with great defense? Can he be better than that to win the job? I think he can, right? It's chance for plus defense with his speed, and he could also steal 30 plus bases. He hit well over 300 in the minors, and he hits the ball pretty damn hard. The issue is he puts the ball on the ground a ton, but can he overcome that with speed? And when he does put the ball in the air, can it result in enough production to end up with a balanced offensive profile with everyday reps? And I also want to throw you a comp season. And I also want to ask you if this constitutes a breakout. Can he do what Xavier Edwards did last year? Xavier Edwards hit 283, 343, 353 slug. It was a 95 WRC plus. It was 3 home runs, 27 stolen bases, and a 2.5 F4. Like, is that out of the realm of possibility for Justin Crawford on the Philadelphia Phillies?
I don't think so. I think the big factor is going to be the defense, and he is capable out there. And it just comes down to, like, is he going to play the plus defense that he's capable of, or is it going to look more closer to average, which it's looked like through stretches? I think that's going to be the big factor. And then the other is, how much is he elevating? He does not need to elevate the ball a ton. He definitely needs to cut down on a 60% ground ball rate, which he did at the end of last year, just closer to the low to mid 50s. And that turned into a lot more, slug in terms of doubles, snuck out some more home runs. But the thing is he has been kind of that brain breaker type of player as well, because you look at the batted ball data, you say, how is he so productive? But he has continued to be at every single stop. He just did it as a 21-year-old in AAA. It's becoming harder and harder to doubt Justin Crawford, but I have a little bit of doubt just because I think the swing, like he's going to get busted inside a lot, see how he does. But he has just continued to make it work and make it happen. And he's going to steal bags. He's going to get runway. He's going to be, I think, a guy that's not going to be asked to do much more than, bat in the back of the lineup and, just try to get on base and create runs. And he's going to have a lot of infield hits and steal those like easy bags. I think I do think it could be Xavier Edwards-esque if he can get the ball in the air a little bit more.
The son of Carl Crawford, Justin Crawford, is plus 2,200 on BetMGM to win National League Rookie of the Year. I think there is some value there. But Aram, your last breakout pick.
Going with the Marlin here, a guy that I've seen throw a ton. We talked about in the rookie draft as well, Robbie Snelling. I think it's going to be interesting to see how quick he gets into that rotation. But I think he's a priority for the Marlins at this point, especially now with Thomas White. Even though I think Snelling was ahead of him anyways, with Thomas White going down with the oblique, I think the Marlins look at their rotation. They probably want a little bit of clarity on a couple guys, but I ultimately think it's going to be Robbie Snelling's spot to grab, once they guarantee that extra year of control. I've been so impressed with Snelling because it's mental as well. Remember, this guy was a 4-star linebacker, and he goes out there with the compete mentality that, you really want to see out of pitchers that we talked about with, Skeens and Early and some of these other guys. He's got that, right? The athleticism on the mound is evident. The fastball has progressed to, comfortably plus pitch where he's sitting in the 95 to 97 range now with above average ride to sometimes plus ride. The curveball and slider are both effective pitches. The changeup has progressed into a really good pitch for him that he's comfortable throwing left on left. So we have a 4-pitch arsenal, an elite athlete on the mound, and a headliner fastball from a lefty. And lefties just continue to have success in the major leagues right now. And lefties with great fastballs really have success at the major leagues right now. The big question is going to be, where does he find a spot in the rotation? I think Max Meyer ends up moving to the bullpen. We'll see. I ultimately think that's the best spot for him, but you could see a spot like open up with Chris Paddock potentially, depending on how he throws. We'll see how Braxton Garrett's doing. I think ultimately Snelling's going to get up there sooner rather than later. He's going to get the opportunity to throw 120, 130 innings, and I think he's going to have a lot of success when he does so.
It's exciting times in Miami. Peter Bendix clearly has a plan in front of him, and this team is getting younger. Of course, Sandy's still at the top of the rotation, but you already mentioned Thomas White, as a really good young player. Robbie Snelling stepping up. There's a youth movement going on in Miami, and there's finally a plan. Like, they've had young guys before, but now it feels like it's orchestrated in a way that will eventually lead to winning. We got about 20 seconds left. Last thoughts before we say goodbye.
Yeah, I would just say I agree. There's some offensive questions that we'll see, but I think they're going to throw the ball really well because of guys like Snelling coming up. And if they can piece together the offense, I think this Marlins team can be pesky yet again this year.
I love these tournaments. I love the Olympics. I love NFL drafts. I love events. I love the UFL, arena football.
Yeah.
Dude, the sports books don't have algorithm computers for this, Kevin. They don't freaking know. How the hell is a sports book supposed to set a number for this? They didn't. Yeah. Dude, the FanDuel had USA at -5.5.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Well, still, even though he gave up that home run, Tom, the number's going to be there. If he stays healthy, who's touching that guy?
Well, you mentioned him. The only player I've interest in betting on for the AL Cy Young this year would be Brian Wu. And it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of the odds. It's a combination of his underlying skill set, where I believe he's trending in terms of his career.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I wait until I get the tournament bracket. Then you'll see me start to talk about who makes a run, who's right to get picked off. You go back to last year, look at St. John's, right? They were on a roll. They got Arkansas, who was a better version of St. John's.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
On the Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.